Welcome, hello. My name is Kenneth Page and I'm here with Adulting 101.org. I'd like to introduce you to part one of our Perspective of Money series. In this series, we really challenge the way that we look at, think about, and view money as it relates to our lives, especially the quality of our lives, because financial management is a big piece of that. Part one of this series is called Financial Picture. We explain what a financial picture is and begin to talk about different aspects of your life that you should consider when you're thinking about your financial picture. In today's lesson, in our panel, we have Jalen, Megan, and Tyler, who are all in their 20s and are teachers. We also have Kalindra, a senior college student, and special guest William Jeter, who serves as a financial planner. There's a lot of learning that we have planned today, so grab your pen, your paper, your something to take notes on, and let's get started. I called Jeter, and we were just kind of talking about different perspectives on money. The way that we see money, the way that we use money, how we operate it, how we set our goals around money. Because when you're looking at, the quality of life and the way you're living, finances play a piece into that, and sometimes for better and for worse. So it was a broad conversation, kind of ranging from, levels of happiness, how much money do you really need? What do you want to do with your money now versus what do you want to do with your money later, and other things that roll into it. So to get this conversation kicked off, I do want to ask you all a simple question, and we'll go around the room answering this. First question I want to ask is, so what are your perspectives on money? Like, how do you see money? What's your perspective on money? Kalindra, let's start with you.
How do I see money? Something that can go very fast if you don't actually plan how you're going to use it.
Megan.
I think that money can be a tool, and it's either going to help you fulfill your physical needs or it will help you walk out purpose. And if you're not careful, it can do the opposite. It can drain you, and it can keep you in bondage at the same time. So it's either empowering or it can be enslaving, I guess you could say.
Oh, that's good. Tyler.
I think money, when I think about it, I kind of relate it to an emotion. Like, because when you have a lot of money, you're happy. When you don't have a lot of money, like, you might be sad. When you budget your money, it can really dictate how you feel. Just kind of like how our actions dictate our emotions and stuff. So.
Jalen.
I believe, like the old saying go, money makes the world go around. So, to me, that's a good thing and a bad thing because, you need money to survive, but at the same time, money can be abused in many ways.
And Jeter, what about you?
Yeah, so I see money as time, and the way I measure money is in time. So when I'm thinking about money, I can be making $1 million a year, but if I'm spending $1 million, $1.2 million, it's not getting me anywhere, right? And so, but if I'm stacking up money, if I'm saving my money, and I'm looking down the road, and it's just like, all right, I've got this much money, that's this much time. I can live this long without having to rely on a source of income. And so, of course, money is a tool, and of course, it's going to be emotional. It's going to drive emotions, and it certainly comes and goes, all those things. But when I think about money and when I look at my financial picture, it's all about time.
So when you say financial picture, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I kind of, so financial picture, it can be a lot of things. Like being a financial planner for me, that means estate planning, your insurance, your taxes, your investments, all of these different things. But, when I'm talking about my financial picture, I think of my short term, the money coming in, the money going out, as well as my long term goals. And so, you know, I've been working for close to 10 years now, and so I've got a kind of a good feel of how much money I need to enjoy things in the present. And if I know that and I'm looking forward to the future, I can kind of figure out how much money I need to have that time that I'm talking about, aka retirement, or, taking time off of work, right? If I've got enough, maybe I don't need to work all week, every single week. Maybe I can come to an agreement with someone and enjoy the present a little bit more. So, it's both that short term, money coming in, money going out, as well as that long term, this is what I have, this is where I'm trying to get to. Can I make those two things work, or do I need to adjust?
Absolutely. So I guess, Kalindra, I'm gonna start with you because you're the youngest one. Have you ever considered like your financial picture?
Yeah, so I'm a senior this year. So being that student loans, are about to come up as soon as I graduate, or not as soon as I graduate, but the 6 months or whatever they give you. That's came into perspective as far as where I'm going to stay, because I do want to continue my education. Um, how am I going to pay that back? How am I going to establish where I'm going to live, whether it's a house, whether I go stay in an apartment. It's just myself right now, but I still have to think about how I'm going to eat. I have a car, so I have to pay that off. So yeah, when it comes to money, I'm just thinking, how am I going to find a job that also works with my lifestyle, but will help me grow my money, but also pay the things that I need to pay.
Did you think like that when you were like, so I know you're 21 now, finishing up college. Did you see money in that same way, your financial picture, when you were in high school?
No, so I definitely see money now as time. Like, even when it comes down to budgeting, how much money I make hourly and how much money I go and spend during the weekend when me and my friends want to hang out, that's put into perspective, because it's going to take me this amount of time to make that back.
That's a good way to look at it. Now, Jalen, something that Kalindra talked about, because y'all are a similar age, she talked about how with her financial picture, she's only considering herself. Now, you, on the other hand, Jalen, you're engaged to be married, you have one son, and you have another one on the way. So now that you have these responsibilities, how does that impact the way you see your financial picture?
I mean, well, I started off, a college student, spend money whenever I want, make it right back. Now it's different. So now I have to think long term instead of short term. And now with me already having one son now and another one on the way, it's like, all right, it's go time. Can't be that little kid anymore that like to spend money on nonsense. You have to plan ahead. So that's been my whole mindset, you know. And also I'm about to have a whole family, so I have to be dependent, I have to have my wife able to come to me for things and my kids be able to come to me for things, so it's all about me trying to be more smarter in my role, if that makes sense.
It does. Like, so before you had your oldest, before you had JC on, did you like notice a change, like versus, I just got out of college, I'm starting my career, I'm getting into the thing I love to doing versus I'm about to start a family. Like when you had that knowledge, did it kind of like immediately change your thought process?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it took a little second. Like, honestly, it's a challenge because you're not gonna be ready to, you know, change from college student to family like just that quick. I'm sorry, my son is out here going crazy. So, it takes a while, honestly, but you have it in the back of your mind. So it's all about creeping it to the front and like keeping it there.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll venture in to say, like, me at 30 years old, there's times where when I'm making choices now, I don't have a family yet, but I consider, like, how is this going to shape my life in the future? Because, if one day I'm wanting to have a wife, one day I'm wanting to have kids, it's like, what things can I do now to make sure when I get to that point, things are, where they need to be. Because I can, Megan, you're 27, and it's like, you're getting around the age where, we begin to start thinking about long-term relationships, marriages, and things like that. Do you ever, as a woman, because I feel like society has a different, how we view men and women with money with regards to relationship. So with, you being a young woman, doing well in your career, how do you consider like a financial picture with respects to your future?
I think my priority the last 3 or 4 years has been personally financially healthy because I don't want to model habits and behaviors for my children that are going to lead them to be in places financially that aren't well or healthy. I've also focused a lot on getting out of debt because I don't want to bring financial baggage into a relationship. So the last 3 years, I've paid off all credit cards. I've paid off my private student loans. I just finished paying off my car. I got a little bit left to go, but the priority has been getting myself financially healthy right now. And now that I'm kind of getting to the end of that, it's looking at investing. It's looking at how I can grow my money smart and without kind of inhibiting my own pleasure too. Like I want to enjoy where I am because there's a lot of freedom in being single and there's a lot that you can do that you can't do as freely when you have other obligations, other people to consider. So just kind of right now focusing on making sure I'm doing the good habits, getting out of debt, making sure that I'm starting to start focusing on what is investing and what is retirement, all that look like. I'm also a believer. So a lot of my balance has to be like right now, what are you doing with your time? Same thing with time being money. Like I want to be able to serve and give up my time in a certain way. So I can't completely absorb all my time with jobs. Like, okay, but what kind of time you spending with family and relationships? And like, there's a balance in that as well. So.
Mhm. So that's really good. Tyler, I want to ask you, kind of piggybacking a little bit off Megan, because, we've heard, how do I put it? You're at the age, you're right there at mid-20s. And there's like definitely just a natural transition. So you've kind of heard like, how we, because I think when we're all in high school, we see money as like, oh, I got it. Now we got to go. I made it. I got to spend it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, where are you in your financial picture journey right now?
Okay. Honestly, I am like trying to pay off debt. I've invested a lot in building my credit score. I think that could kind of be like the biggest thing I'm focused on right now. I feel like I'm not at an age, like you say, where I'm considering other people, but I also think that it's important, like with finding, because you guys are saying like time is money. Like I'm kind of like trying to find that balance of like, okay, if I use my time this is how much money I can turn around in 24 hours. Like, especially considering that I'm trying to like start my own makeup business. Like that's service times, like that's clients that I can spend, or like money that, or things that I did or small hustles that I had to make money now. Like I did Instacart to like make money throughout the week in addition to me teaching. So, hey, I know that if I do this order for 2 hours or do this for 2 hours, I can make money, and just trying to find the right ways to invest it and also invest in tools for myself, for my business. So with T Artistry, I just recently applied to be a esthetician. So I'm an esthetician student right now. And, you know, yeah, we get a lot of things covered with tuition and we get a nice kit, but to run like a studio, to have your own business, whether you're independent or you're working in a salon, you want to have the tools that you need to better your craft. So that's makeup brushes, that's different machines that I need to do facials. So it's really trying to find the right ways to balance while saving, you know, while of course I love to spend money on myself, like who doesn't? So it's trying to find the best ways to balance that. And I think that I like the way that y'all been framing it, like time is money, and like and I think a big thing is just knowing your credit score to invest, to get a house, you know, to do a lot of things that you want for your future, even in the long term. It has to start right now. So I think that's why, like, I think I started looking at my credit maybe three or 4 years ago. And like, ever since then, like I've been like building my credit, you know, and just trying to make better decisions when it comes to that, because I know a credit score with the way our society is set up is very big, you know, especially in terms of investing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Jeter, you're a financial advisor, so you get to see a wide range of people with their finances at different stages of life, you know, different responsibilities. Given that, because I know you've seen on the older side, you know, people that have done well and wise and people that haven't. So with respects to that, you know, if we're in our 20s, we're getting out of college, getting out of school, establishing our life, how should we be looking at our money?
Well, for one, it sounds like everyone on this call is doing a fantastic job. What I'm hearing over and over is people are looking forward, right? Calindra, she says she's looking into her student loans, thinking about living decisions. Jalen's no longer spend it, make it right back. He's now thinking about what do I need to be able to give to my wife, to my kids. You know, Megan is establishing good financial principles so that she can be a role model. She said to her kids, I assume that means her one-day kids as well as her kids in school. And Tyler's thinking about investing in herself, which, you know, I would say that's probably the number one thing you could do with your money is invest in yourself. Like, as a young person, your greatest financial asset is yourself, right? Your earnings power over the course of your career, when you're in your 20s, when you're in your teens, when you're in your 30s, like Kenneth and I, barely in our 30s. Like, you've got a long road, a lot of earnings ahead of you. If you've got creativity, if you've got ways to turn that career into money, that's going to be extremely lucrative for you. The other thing, you know, very few of my incredibly wealthy clients were given any money. They got it because they invested in themselves, and they just practice good financial habits, just like everyone's highlighted on this. Like, if you spend less than you make, that helps you in two different ways. One, you're saving money, right? You've got a bigger pile of money. Two, you're not creating that habit where you're spending more. So Kenneth and I were talking about that. We're so happy with, you know, a vacation for us is spending time with people that we care about. Yeah, we like to go and do it in some different places from time to time, but you know, it's not about spending a lot of money. It's, you know, you can get the things that you want. You can create those good habits if you're working on them little by little by little, and all of a sudden you've established, you know, you look back, it doesn't look like much next year or the year after that. But looking back on the first 10 years of my career and now what I have, it's like, wow, that's a big chunk of money. Looking back from it 10 years from now, I'm going to be like, wow, that's an even bigger chunk of money. So it's about, yes, investing in yourself and establishing those strong habits as a young person. That's going to pull 90% of the weight.
Man, one of the things that I thought was interesting that you said, you talked about, the majority of your wealthy clients, they weren't given the money. And I feel like a lot of times, especially we look and we're like, okay, we like to assume everyone that has a lot of money, it was just given to them. And then, especially there's, talking about, generational wealth and making sure we leave something behind for our kids. There's this thought process that I see going around a lot now. That's like, I need to make a buttload of money so that I can make sure I leave my kids a buttload of money. But the odd thing about life is people that are just given money seem to just kind of lose it versus people that earn it and make a living for it. I guess with that being said, Jalen, how do you feel about, what you want to leave for your children financially? Like, have you ever thought about that? How much you want to leave them? How much you want them to start out with?
Well, for me, my goal has been to, I don't plan on teaching my whole life. I plan on, opening my own daycare one day. So with that daycare, I want it to be, affordable for parents who some parents, they really can afford to send their kids to daycare 7 days out the week or 6 days out the week because daycare gets expensive. So I want to be able to, have it where it's not, I don't want to say cheap, but a good price for parents. But also with that being a good price, that brings in more kids, which will lead to more profit. So with that profit, I want to be able to, put some aside to save up. So when my time comes, my kids will have a business they can call their own, and they'll have money to their name because I set myself up over time like that.
Absolutely. I guess that would be nice. I don't I think the generation that I'm in, I can't speak for everyone, my parents wasn't in a position to leave me anything. They raised me and they taught me, but like leaving actual financial assets, that wasn't the case. We had to I managed to earn a scholarship, and without that I would have just had to pay for school myself. So Megan, when you talk about, because I know we were talking about at
I was
Wake.
getting ready to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. So go with it.
You're talking about when I was speaking about my undergrad experience.
Yeah.
I'm living in Fairmont, North Carolina. That's where I was born and raised. Before leaving to go to college, I was not aware of the amount of wealth and resources that other people had access to. I was mentioning him yesterday. I said people would go on spring break and they would have cars pick them up for spring break, or they were flying out different places. And that was completely out of my context. Had never really traveled out of the country before college, had never done any major, we went to Disney World and we did probably more. I think my family did more than most in my area, but I was not aware of the amount of wealth that existed in our country to some people. My college tuition averaged probably around the $60,000 a year range, and most of the students, probably 60% of the students who went there, could afford to pay that out of pocket, and that amazes me still now. But I think my question to your point about legacy was, what is the gap that's missing between the knowledge of the existence of wealth and how you actually obtain that wealth? I think that knowledge, it's passed down, and those habits and that insight, how to run businesses, all those different things have trickled slower for a lot of people in more rural areas who are of brown and black skin sometimes, who do have a lot of limitations, I guess you could say, in terms of exposure. And so it's taken longer for some of those connections to be made, I think, for our children. Like, it's like, we learn a little bit and we pass it. Like my dad, he's big on entrepreneurship and everything. And I'm like, okay, let me take a little piece of that, and then my kids will do better than I did. But I think legacy is something really interesting to think about in light of thinking about wealth and everything.
So like, how much wealth is out there?
I mean, if we're talking about like in the stock market, like it's like 20 something trillion dollars at this point in time, you know, unfathomable. How about that? But I don't think I don't think that's the question. Like, how much wealth do you need is probably a better question, and that's going to be unique for any individual. It's all like everyone has their goals, and everyone's goals are gonna require different amounts of wealth. And I think this legacy question is really important. We worked with a wealth psychologist, and he wrote a book, and kind of the thought process behind that book was you have immigrants to wealth, so the people who make that wealth, and you have natives to wealth. And so a lot of times that's the second generation of those immigrants to wealth. So you've got the immigrants who go out and make that money, and they have the traditional middle class kind of lifestyle, even though they've achieved a lot. And then sometimes you have a native to wealth who has goals that are much, much higher, require a much larger amount of money than those immigrants' goals did, because, you know, they've grown up having a lot of things, and so they're used to spending more money. And so when you talk about the question of what would you like to leave your kids one day, I don't think of that financially at all. I agree, it's opportunity. The same opportunity that I had, maybe a little bit more, would be ideal. Like, I'd like to start them off on the right foot as opposed to leave them something at the end of the day. And I hope that my parents are thinking about the same thing. Like, I want them to bounce their last check, you know. That would be my goal for them.
So start them off on the right foot rather than leaving them something. And I think as an individual, that like completely changes what your aim is for your children. Because when you really think about it, if you talk about leaving something behind for your kids, God willing, you live a long, healthy life, your kids are gonna be about 40, 50, 60 when you pass away on average. So by the time you get to the point of like leaving them something, it's like they should already be established, versus thinking about like, okay, I want to make sure they start out on the right foot. So that's bringing it home a lot earlier. Now you're looking more like, how am I going to look in my 20s? How am I going to look in my 30s around the time we're having children, so that I can make sure I provide something to them? And Megan, to your point, so you talked about like, in rural areas, how a lot of brown and dark-skinned people, like we don't get that wealth knowledge. We don't get the learning and understanding how to do it. With that being said, if you look at it statistically, minorities, Black and brown people and Hispanics, we're the highest group of people that grow up in poverty. And, poverty affects your mindset. Poverty affects the way that you do things. And I think because, I feel like when you grow up in poverty, you just begin to think that wealth, a whole lot of money, is the end all be all to all my problems. All of my happiness is going to be solved with this amount of money. Have you all ever heard of something called the fulfillment curve? All right, I'm going to bring this up on screen. It's a concept Cheater and I were talking about. And I click here. All right. So, Jude, you remember we was talking about the fulfillment curve? About how much money you need to actually be happy?
Yeah.
All right. So the whole concept about it was there's literally a point where if you're making this much money, everything after that is just a burden to you. And Jude, I think you said you saw some research that actually pointed out around what enough was.
Yeah. So there's a paper out there. I can run across it, and basically it is, and this can vary a little bit based on your situation and whether there's multiple people in your family, et cetera. But for an individual, your maximum, like where the curve is the steepest, where your fulfillment is going up the most per dollar, is only at like $60,000 a year. And that's a lot of money. You know, that's definitely above median here, but it's not, I don't think that's unattainable for any educated person in America, $60,000. And then that point where you're kind of considered at maximum fulfillment, at least the psychologist that I think it was Stanford found, was in the $90,000 range for an individual. And again, that's a lot of money. $90,000 a year is a whole lot of money, but it's not unachievable at all. So that enough level is available to anyone that you know can get creative about figuring out how to get there. I really think it is.
So Tyler, with you teaching, because I think it's interesting, you and Jalen both are kind of in the same place where you're teaching now, but you have other ventures that you're working on, other dreams and ideas. With that being said, have you ever thought about like how much is enough?
It's something that I think about often. I think being an educator is it's hard to kind of deal with sometimes because you know the work that you do, you know how much you care about your students, you know all the time and hard work you and other fellow educators are putting in, but at the same time, I feel like for what we do and the means of living that we make or the salary that we make is definitely not what it should be. Just being honest with that's just how I feel, especially stepping into teaching a new demographic of students and seeing how much care and love that they need. It's definitely not up there to what I'm doing. But when I think about being an educator and I look at it like this, I know teaching, it pays the bulk of my bills. And then I know I need another side hustle like Instacart or T Artistry to one, establish a passion or establish other goals for myself outside of teaching. Don't get me wrong. I love education. I work hard for my licensure, but I know that Jalen, I don't see myself in the classroom all of the rest of my time here on this earth. You know, even if it's just me being a principal or I'm going to an administrative position or working in an educational nonprofit, I know I'm not going to be in the classroom the whole time. So right now, I guess I'm kind of using that to fuel my own dreams so I can get my business venture started. And then, okay, if I get my business venture started, then I'll look back to going into the classroom. So I think being an educator or being what they call heroes, like a healthcare worker, people in those positions, what we're making is yes, it's not quite enough, but it's right there. So Jeter was saying, you have to be creative to get that income that's going to make you feel sustainable, really feel comfortable. And I really agree with the concept of enough. Cause I know when you called me, I was really thinking it makes sense because like you said, all you see is these stories of people who have a lot of money and is here one day, gone in a week, or something happens. Or I don't know if y'all saw about the tragedy with the stimulus check and it was a quadruple murder somewhere. Even that money it changes a lot of things. When people think they're going to get a certain amount of luxury or get a certain amount of wealth versus having just enough. I can honestly say where I'm at right now in my life, if I had enough to pay my bills and go on a trip and, maybe buy myself a handbag and put in my savings, I'd be okay. That doesn't mean in that amount of enough, realistically speaking, is right at what Jeter's saying, that 60,000 range, And I also think when we're talking about the concept of time and money and just building generational wealth, it is, I do agree it's about opportunity, but if you want to leave financial, again, I think it just reiterates that you have to have long-term goals, long-term habits, because nothing money is not really realistically going to be given to you. Even the people that came into money, or it seems like it's given to them, they still had to do different things. They had to have good habits and they had to be creative, like Jeter was saying, to get to that money. So that's what I'm kind of learning now, even with being an educator, because I'm I know being a teacher is it's not going to be enough. It's just not going to be enough in today's society. So I have to find ways to make more money. Why not doing something that makes me happy? I love doing makeup. I love, skincare. I love beauty. So why not try and find ways to be, to make money doing something I enjoy so I can have enough.
Can I piggyback in with Tyler? Because I'm a teacher too, and I teach special ed like you. I don't know how long you've been teaching, but I am about 5 years in now, and I completely agree with you. I think what Jeter was saying at the beginning about time being money is a relevant conversation for educators, because it's our time that we really want. It's not that we're fulfilled in so many ways in our work. We get to work with students. We're making a difference in their lives. And it's a long-term, purpose-driven kind of role. But our time is so constrained that we don't have the capacity to make more money to do things for ourselves. And so for me, I love teaching. I don't like waking up and having to be there right at 7:30. You stay if you want to if you want to go above and beyond and do more, then you're there till 4. You're coming home, your time and your energy, because your emotional capacity is on the table. Your mental capacity, all your creative ability goes into this one space. And then when you're like, okay, well, what can I create for myself? What can I create for my family? I'm giving, but what can I do for me? There's not a lot left. There's not a lot of margin. And so when we talk about enough, I think I wouldn't even look, for me, it's not about the number so much as what are you asking me for the number that you give me? And how much time does that require? And then let's look at the value, let's assess the value of that. Because for what I give, it's definitely not enough. But if we were to kind of scale back some things, maybe we could talk about it. But the concept of enough for me is very much a conversation about capacity as well as the value that goes with that.
Wow, what an amazing conversation we just finished up. I hope you walked away thinking about how much money is enough, as well as considering what is your financial picture? What are your goals? What are you aiming for? And how does that fit in the overall financial picture, the financial framework of your life? Right? But thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for watching with us. Make sure you take the time to go back and reflect on the information that we learned so that you can apply it. We don't want to just learn this great stuff for us not to use it. So let's make sure we apply it to our lives so that we can produce a better lives for ourselves and generations to come. Now, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned from it, I'd like you to share this video. Share it with someone that you love, share it with someone that you know could benefit from learning this information just as you have benefited from it. And also, while you're sharing it, go ahead and click subscribe down at the bottom so you can stay in contact with us and that you'll be able to see the lessons as we release them. Now, in the credits of this, you'll see the contact information for William, Megan, and Tyler. So please reach out to them if you'd like to assist them or if you'd like to get any questions answered for them. You'll also see the contact information for Adulting 101 Org. We would absolutely love to hear from you. So check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Adulting 101 Org. And don't forget to use that hashtag #DoAdulting. Now, if you support the mission of Adulting 101 Org, please consider donating to us so that we can continue to better advance the mission and teach the young people better ways of navigating life. You can find us on Cash App at $DoAdulting, or you can go to our website, doadulting.org, and you'll see different ways to give there. But they'll be giving information in the credits as well. Now, remember, this was part 1 of a 3-part series, so make sure you come back next week and check out part 2, Career and Purpose. It's going to be a great lesson, and you're totally going to want to see it. But again, thank you so much for learning with us today, and I hope you have a great one. Peace.